The new Red Sec and Season 1 update is less than half an hour away, and I want to give you the updated settings because if you didn't know, they've actually released new settings for Battlefield 6 and in time for the new Battle Royale. Now, they've made a lot of things simpler, they've made a lot of things slightly different, but that's what we're going to cover in this video, and we're going to do it as quickly as we possibly can because we need to get our hands on this Battle Royale almost immediately now, so we're going to hopefully get your settings sorted as quickly as we can. Now, also, we've went through and watched tons of graphics videos, so if you do play Battlefield on PC, then this is going to give you the most optimized way to actually run your graphics as well. But we're going to go through controller first because I feel like a lot of people are going to want to see these changes. First of all, when it comes to the sensitivity, that's preference. Between 60, 70 and 80, I think, is the sweet spot, really. Field of view, I have this all the way up. Vertical aim ratio is 56 for both. When it comes to uniform infantry aiming, you want this off. This is going to allow the rest of your aim settings to feel like they're supposed to. When it comes to aim assist, now they have taken away the aim assist snap setting. So that is why now when you get to the aim assist, it's going to be near the actual player kind of profile, how you want to call it, instead of just being a square box, right? So we might need to put these aim assist settings slightly higher. I have just adjusted them now after testing it in the firing range. I still think it's a bit strong in general, but we can adjust this slightly higher. If you need full aim assist, then you can do that. But I think the aim assist in this game is very strong, almost even stronger than Call of Duty in some cases, where you don't really need it like that. Now, what they've done well here is that they show you which aim curve that you're going to be using. So as you can see here, a lot of them look very similar. So we all kind of thought this anyway. So I'm using the Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, and then we're using the standard curve as well. And this is what I've been using since the beta, so I just like these settings. Then we're doing the Battlefield 4, 3, and Bad Company setting, and then we're using 45 on the acceleration. For acceleration, between 30 and maybe 50 is a good range if you want to play around with that. Infantry sprint I have set to toggle, double tap forward to sprint I have set to sprint, and sprint I have set to the forward on the analog stick, and then I do have slide set to circle. Now you can obviously adjust this to make this the right thumbstick as well. That's personal preference. I prefer using the circle button, to be honest. It's just the way I like to play, but that is really up to you, and if you've got maybe a pro controller or something like that. When it comes to the zoom, now you want to do hold to zoom, and then you want to turn off the sensitivity smoothing. You don't need this on. And then what you want to do is adjust everything up to maybe like a 3.5, 4 times optic. Even some of the 3.5, 4 times optics could be used for close range weapons or not too ranged weapons. And I have this set to 85%. Then the 3.5 and 4 is 100%, and anything above that is 120%. Just that's for sniping, right? Then we've got prioritize interact. Weapon mount breakout is instant. Mount type is siding up. Mount presets is combo. Peek type is disabled. I don't like the kind of peeking around the corners thing. I just think it doesn't really work well. Infantry gyro button, you can disable this, it doesn't really matter. And then infantry flick look mode, which basically gives you an instant 180. You can use this, it's very helpful, especially kind of on controller really, but I just don't use it, right? I just don't feel the need to use it, so I have it disabled just in case. When it comes to vehicle settings, I haven't adjusted any of these. I just think the default feels good to me. I will need to go in and maybe change this because I probably will play a little bit more on vehicles, especially in the Battle Royale. But in multiplayer, I tend not to touch it. When it comes to controller tuning, you need to go all the way down, right down to the very bottom here. And what you want to do is turn controller vibration, intensity, and all these kind of settings off, essentially. So as you can see, there's more settings in here if you hit the advanced button. And then when it comes to dead zones, people are saying to put this all the way down to 0. You can do that because the game does not have 0 as the actual dead zone. So if you set 0 inside Battlefield 6, it's not actually 0 on the dead zone on the controller. Now I usually have this set between 1 and 2. Realistically, I think that feels good enough for me personally. And then when it comes to the axial dead zone, you want to kind of keep this as low as possible as well. So I usually have this around about 3. And we will need to make sure this works just as intended with the new update as well. It doesn't feel really too different to me since using it in the firing range, to be honest, but like I said, that's something we might need to test and see with a bit of time and see if they've actually adjusted the dead zones. Going into audio quickly, now I do want to adjust a few of these audio settings for you because it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for more immersion, then you can keep the music on. If you're looking for more competitiveness, then you want to turn the music off, right? So master sound effects, both at 100%, music volume 0. When it comes to commander volume, soldier volume, and all that kind of stuff, SFX volume, you want this all 100%. Hit indicator is on, that's going to give you the sound for your hit markers. And headphones is my sound system, and I use war tapes because that sounds like the most kind of like, I don't know, bassy I think, but it just sounds the best to me. Audio and background is off, by the way, and music and menus, I usually turn this off as well, but it doesn't really matter too much when you're in the menus. But the music in the background is definitely very useful. You need to turn this off, by the way. Then the rest is personal preference. Moving on into the HUD settings, some of these are actually very important as well, by the way, so just keep this in mind. When it comes to show HUD, you want that on, obviously. Infantry HUD motion off, it reduces the motion with the HUD itself. Horizontal HUD padding just brings it in tighter together, that's up to preference. Show soldier overlays, show vehicle overlays, show outlines of friendlies and enemies. Advanced HUD and icon settings, I have the opacity set to 85. Really, you could whack this all the way up to 100 really, because you're not really going to be seeing behind your minimap anyway for the most part. And then on the kill feed and the world logs, I don't really change this stuff anyway. All this stuff is stayed as default. Now, when it comes to the minimap, I have this set to large. Most Battlefield players will have this set to large because you get to see a lot more on your minimap, which is super important. The opacity for the background of the minimap is 90%, cone opacity is 15%, cone edge 40%, rotation you want on, interior zoom you want off, and then view distance on foot. You want this all the way up, view distance on vehicle all the way up, and view distance in air all the way up, right? You want this all the way so you can see as much as you possibly can on that minimap, and especially in the Battle Royale, this is going to be extremely useful. Show compass multiplayer is on, and then the rest is set to on. Crosshair is where you might want to adjust this slightly. I have my crosshair color usually set to green. I don't know why it's went back to default, but I'm going to just set that now quickly. So just keep that in mind. If you've updated your game recently, then maybe set your crosshairs back, right? Because I like green. Crosshair intensity is 60%. Crosshair thickness is default. Infantry projection is off. This stops your crosshair bobbing around. Hit indicators I have all set to on because you want to know if you break plates, if you want to get a headshot, or whatever it is, you want to know exactly what you've done, and that is why I have these colors set. When it comes to graphics, this is going to give you the best balance between performance and frame rate. It's not going to be the best for performance because you could just whack every setting down to low and then obviously do that instead, but it's going to make the game look semi-decent whilst getting decent frame rates. Now, performance presets custom, graphics quality is custom, graphics quality settings now. So I've got the texture at high, the texture filtering at ultra, mesh quality at high, terrain medium, undergrowth quality medium, low, volumetrics high, lighting qualities high, the local light and shadow qualities high, medium for sun shadow, shadow filtering is PCF, reflection qualities high, low, GTAO high, and then medium. Now, when it comes to all these settings, I am using a 4070 Ti, I believe. That is the graphics card I'm using for my PC. But if you've got a slightly slower graphics card, then you could definitely adjust your settings. I recommend a YouTube channel called Tech Guides. He goes over and shows the best settings and all their effects on performance, and that is where I've copied my settings from. So if you do want to check that guy out, then you can. I'll leave it linked down below. Now, when it comes to the advanced settings, fixed resolution scale 100%. It depends on what your monitor is, then just basically match that, but it will be 100%. Frame rate limiter is off, dynamic resolution scale off. If you've got an NVIDIA graphics card, enable plus boost is always the best option. DLAA is anti-aliasing, or you can use some upscaling methods as well if you really want to. Upscaling technique is off. I like having my games set to the kind of native resolution. I don't like any upscaling, but it could help if you've got a lower performing system. Then we do have NVIDIA frame generation, again for lower performing systems, but really you don't want fake frames in your game if you're trying to be competitive. Future frame rendering, again, the same thing. I don't really recommend this. You'd rather use the upscaling and try and get better frames that way than get fake frames, if I'm being honest with you. Performance overlay is simple, just so I can see what my CPU times are. Then we've got field of view. We've kind of went over this a little bit, but we want weapon field of view set to wide, motion blur is 0. We've done all this kind of stuff. This is the usual kind of stuff. We've also got the chromatic aberration, vignette, and film grain all set to 0. In modes, full screen works fine. There's no performance benefit out of full screen or not. And then I'm using an Elgato to record the gameplay, but you can choose whatever you want there, just use your monitor. When it comes to full screen resolution, I have this set to 4K for some reason, but I have a 1440p monitor realistically, so that's what I should be setting this to. Aspect ratio is auto, or just choose your aspect ratio. My refresh rate should be higher than this, but because I'm recording through the Elgato, it's going to be stuck to 60 here, but I can get around maybe 100 FPS in total. Vertical sync is off. Make sure that is always off, by the way. So there we have it. That is all the best settings compiled into one video as quickly as I possibly can do it for you before Red Sec actually drops. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, as we will be making more Battlefield 6 content, and thank you very much for watching.